And we are going to have Battlefield of Eternity banned out and Warhead Junction. No one wants to play on Warhead Junction. There's going to be Dragonshire, Shrines, and Cursed Hollow if we get that far in this set.
I feel like Warhead Junction at the competitive level can just turn into a clown fiesta too
Oh,
often.
yeah, 100%.
There's too much randomization with where the warheads show up. It's really hard to establish a rhythm. So I can see how they'd be like, yeah. We don't
Also, for those of you who do not know, the cheese strat of medevac sanctification works amazingly well in Warhead. All you do is have one person in each lane and do a tri-lane in the bot lane to get the first fort down, and then as soon as you get your first set of nukes, as soon as you get your heroics, you medevac to the keep, kill the keep. You wait for the first round of nukes to happen. After you get the keep, you get one or two nukes. You medevac to keep, and you kill it because you have sanctification plus nukes, and you have the burn from your whole team. And it just ends the game. And that's not even this dumbest cheese that I know of on Warhead Junction. That's just the easiest one to execute. Warhead Junction is not a good map at a high level of play because there's so many cheese strategies that are really hard to play against.
Good old Forehead Junction.
ETC is going to be the ban. ETC is just not ever going to be let through the draft in the Chinese market. It's just not going to happen. I want to see ETC play in one of these games just to see if he's really that scary in the Chinese scene.
Well, I mean, we've seen all kinds of blow up setups. Stormbolt, even on its own, follow up with the root. The idea that there could be a meaty hero that power slides out on multiple heroes at this level of play, I wouldn't want to deal with it.
We are going to see Meridian banned out, so both of the true solo tanks isolated out of the draft. And Malfurion's going to be the pickup for HotsLady. That's going to give them a lot of sustain in the 4-man rotation and a lot of kill potential. But SoA just going to casually pick up Tassadar Vala.
One thing that's cool about picking those heroes up on Dragonshire is that you have them paired off in a lane. That's a lot of sustain and damage. Tassadar has a pretty easy escape. It could definitely help SoA out a lot in the early game. I like that for them.
I'm curious to see if they're going to have Tassadar be in the 4-man, or if they're even going to do a 4-man. This is China. We could see a 2-1-2. We could see a 1-1-3. They have their own way of doing their laning arrangements. Johanna is going to be the pickup for HotsLady. Varian is not allowed. No hero is allowed in official Blizzard events until they've been out for 2 weeks. I don't know if Samuro is banned or not, to be honest. It would be on the NetEase website, the information about the tournament, but it's in Chinese, and I can't read it. So I don't know if the Samuro is banned because of his bug issue with healing his illusions from Master of Illusionist or not, unfortunately. But you haven't seen him tonight in any of the drafts, and we did see him last week, so I kind of feel like maybe he got banned just across the board. Johanna and Li Ming are going to be the pickup for HotsLady. Not going to let themselves get isolated out of their tank pickups. And SoA going to ban Zeratul, HotsLady going to ban, of course, Ariel. Not going to have Tassadar, Vala, and Ariel in the same team because that is too good a combo to let through the second ban phase. And SoA going to lock in Rhaegar and going to pick up Chen for their solo laner.
I like that choice for them. They're not looking at too many interrupts. Johanna probably won't be in the top lane. Alarak could definitely be a problem.
And I actually like to see Alarak picked up here for HotsLady. He is available in the draft. HotsLady does pick up Falstad for the global. That is going to give them rotational superiority on Dragonshire, and they do pick up the Alarak. That's a good call. That's going to give Chen a really hard time if Chen ends up being the solo laner for SOA. They could put Tassadar in the solo lane instead, depending on what they're going for. And they're actually going to pick up Leoric. That is going to be a huge punish for Johanna. Back in the day, when the meta was 100% about Johanna Leoric because wave clear was such a high priority. Pre-scaling changes, Leoric bodied Johanna in lane because she has so little mobility that once you land that Drain Hope on her, it's just so difficult to not get chunked.
I remember those days when Leoric and Johanna were like first pick priorities. That was a long time ago. And Curse I don't think Rhaegar is bad. It's just he fundamentally doesn't fit what other supports can do. Like all the other supports in some capacity can make a play. Like even Morales can make plays with grenades. Rhaegar just isn't really able to do that.
And the sad thing is he used to be able to, and when he used to be able to make plays, he was fun. People liked playing him, and the changes they made to him, up to the mount changes, didn't really change his win rate very much in Hero League. It changes prioritization and competitive a little bit, but it didn't really dramatically affect his win rate. It just made him less fun to play. And if it's not changing his win rate and all it's doing is making him less fun to play, why keep those changes? I think it's a really reasonable question.
I would agree. I mean, the well-timed attainment strike, that can win you the team fight. Well-timed route from Malfurion can win you the team fight. You knock someone out of position with a grenade, that's a team fight. All Rhaegar can do is jump in, make himself a liability because he can't ancestral himself, and then throw down a slow. It's not enough.
I agree 110% that we are going to have SoA start over again on the right-hand side. No, we're going to have a pause is what we're going to have. Not even going to get out of the gate this time before the pause goes down.
I always wonder, like, what is the cause of stuff like this? Like, even when we were at BlizzCon and there were some pauses, like, I was looking over at the teams, like, they're just sitting there, like what is going on?
Usually it's some sort of...
It's not like someone's, like, shaking the keyboard, like, oh, you know.
Usually it's either lag or some kind of mechanical error.
You dare say Bloodlust is not a playmaker? Well, the playmaker shouldn't be on there heroic. Like, I don't know. I just feel like Rhaegar is a heal bot. It's not very fun to play. I don't think he's bad. It's just he's not in with the times.
I still want to see an Earthquake Bloodlust comp. Just one time in pro. Well, actually, I've seen it in pro play before, but again, now that Earthquake's been buffed,
I want to see it. We need to make that happen with the DeLoreans next season.
Oh man, there's so many good comps. Heroes of the Storm. There's so many cool interactions between all the different heroes. We're gonna be playing this game 10 years down the road, and we're still not going to have seen all of the really cool, interesting potential combos in high level play.
That's what I love about this game.
HotsLady on the left, SoA on the right. We're going to have a full fall brawl in the 5-man mid. We are going to see Johanna do a beautiful condemn into a full root. Shen gets absolutely chunked. He's going to mount up, go to the top lane. Presumably he will tap. He's actually going to back completely before he ends up going down to wherever he's going. I'm actually not even sure who SA is going to have as the solo laner. They have 3 strong options for what they could have as a solo laner. Tassadar is going to get chunked. Is going to be forced to tap. And HotsLady currently ahead in the rotation. Alarak is going to go to the top lane and be their solo lane. It looks like HotsLady is going to do a standard 4-man rotation, and they're going to see Li Ming aggressively disrupting the rotation, throwing that in. The root goes down onto Leoric, and they actually end up getting the kill on Davala, who got isolated by the Johanna. That was extremely interesting play from HotsLady. It looked like all their damage was going on Leoric, but the Johanna was actually just completely isolating Davala for the false dead.
It's pretty cool to see that kind of shift in priority. And a lot of times you need to win team fights by doing it. You present one option as the focus target and you just switch gears on someone else. It's definitely something that SOA is going to keep an eye out for, because they need Vala alive to win these team fights.
They do indeed. And we are seeing Shen just get absolutely chunked. He's losing this lane to Alarak as expected. This is the danger of picking up Shen and leaving Alarak on the board, but they really did feel like they had to ban the heroes they did ban out. We are going to see Reanimation be the pickup here for Leoric, so he's going for that regeneration. He's trying to get as much lane sustain as possible. I wouldn't be surprised to see Field Team to death. Li Ming actually going to get chased down here. The blink to disjoint the puncturing arrow, it does end up missing, and she also managed to disjoint the auto attack as well that would have hit from the empowered auto attack that would have hit from Vault. That was just... I cannot believe Li Ming lived right there.
Not even close, bro. Calculated.
You say so. Lucid Brawler is going to pick up a channel level 1. It's going to help him quite a bit in the soul lane. He is starting to actually make some headway in that regard. We are going to see the pressure point picked up, the kick, or not pressure point, but the kick talent picked up at level 4. And we're going to see actually Chen use Malfurion to escape past the root. That is a beautiful flying kick. Li Ming's going to throw in the combo, though, and Chen is going to get absolutely erased. Tassadar tries to come up for the save. Is going to get out of there on his own with Dimensional Shift, but does not manage to get there in time to save the Chen.
Li Ming goes bowling, picks up the 7-10 split. Chen's trying to get around that fort, interestingly enough.
And that flying kick, he almost got out of there. It was so close. We're going to see the Orc try and clear the wave aggressively, but he's forced to Wraithwalk out. And the prediction of where he's going to end the Wraithwalk, the root actually goes down, but Alarak messes it up by telekinesising off of it. Actually ends up saving Leoric from the CC lockdown chain. Leoric queuing through the wall to help Rhaegar with the siege. That's something you don't see very often. That's a good low-cost way to help your team out through the wall right there. And Bala ends up soloing the lane. Chen is sort of getting help from Tassadar constantly. And SoA just trying to be everywhere at the same time, help out, because they're not winning anyway. But with all these rotations from Tassadar, the shields are helping him. They're helping them not lose any of the lanes either.
I mean, they're doing a serviceable job in keeping up an experience as well, especially to have lost a couple of heroes. They're responding as best as they probably can with the pressure that HotsLady is putting on them.
And you see a prioritization at SoA. They're actually prioritizing camps very heavily. This was one of the advantages of Rhaegar as a support. He can do camps relatively efficiently. I'm actually a little bit surprised if they were going to prioritize this that we don't see Lightning Bond at level 1. You can actually put your totem down and then cast Lightning Shield on your totem to get double Lightning Shield. It does help you do bruisers in particular much faster than you would be able to do otherwise. We're going to see Rhaegar rotate up, help out Chen, get a little bit of stacking on him. We're actually going to see quite a bit of collapse from both teams this top lane, and Tassadar actually ends up going down. That is not usually an easy kill to secure. We are going to see Rhaegar aggressively go in for the bite onto Malfurion, trying to make that happen. Falstad extremely low in the bot lane, does barrel roll away, and actually is going to cheekily go back onto the shrine, but Ball is forced to back completely out, and Alarak extremely low. Comes back a little bit, does get a Q on him. Chen diving the towers to try and secure that kill, dodges the Discord strike, and is just going to drink the towers until the wave gets here. Going to go back over the wall again, looking for that free damage, but gets telekinesis into the towers, which are not in range of the wave. Kicks back over the wall, does get out, but that was a close call. And Falstad with the fly in, aggressively going to go on that Chen. He does end up going down.
The brass set on Chen ultimately not paying off. I mean, when he dove under it, I was like, all right, this guy's really committed like you read about. He comes away without the kill, and he goes down.
Yeah. Little tiny bit too aggressive. We're actually going to see Mule picked up at level 7 for Malfurion. We see Mule picked up occasionally in professional play, but it's almost always on Sky Temple or Black Hearts. I don't remember the last time I saw it on Dragonshire. It was 2015, guys. It was 2015 the last time I saw Mule on Dragonshire. But, if they can keep their buildings from dying completely to the Dragon Knight, they can get a lot of value out of it, but it means they're not going to have cleanse. I guess there aren't really any hard stuns on SoA in base kits. There's a couple options for there's an option for a heroic version, and Barrel can be really scary, but normally we've been seeing Storm Within Fire picked up anyway by Chen players in the pro scene. SoA actually Lurik good beautiful Wraithwalk there to deny the kick from the Dragon Knight. And Rhaegar just kind of passively soak the bottom lane, make sure they don't miss it. They're trying to catch up to 10. You're going to see Chen again in the top lane playing aggressively on top of that Falstad. Falstad looks like he's going to be okay, though. And Dragon Knight going to push in the spot. They are going to get the entire front wall in the bot lane.
Pretty good amount of value, all things considered. I like the Mule pickup a lot, though. You don't have to worry about too much lockdown. And you got Alarak and Li Ming. You can poke when they try to push, so I get it.
That's a fair point. Just Mule in 2016. Leoric is going to go down. Played a little bit too aggressively into that Li Ming. And generally speaking, playing too aggressively into the Li Ming is a good way to end up a Wraith.
If you're trying to get some value out of that trait, it's a good one. I'm sure HotsLady would be more than glad to oblige him on that front.
We are going to see a Chen get a 3-man rotated on, 4-man rotated on. That's going to be another kill onto Chen. tried to go into Storm Earth and Fire before he went down, but got bursted out. And Chen is not having a good time this game.
I mean, they're really turning that Chen pick into a liability. Every time we look up at the top lane, somebody's rotating up there to take his face off. It's crazy.
Yeah. Meanwhile, SoA going to be pushing in the bottom lane with their bruisers. We're going to have a beautiful Entomb catch on Johanna. This is what we're talking about in the draft. The Force Wall follow-up. That is a dead Johanna. For a second there, I thought she was going to get away. But that is a dead Johanna, and this is what we were talking about in the draft. Leoric is just extremely good against Johanna. If you can get the scenario where you catch her with the Entomb, you get the Drain Hope on her. And this isn't even level 13 yet, where it'll get even better when he does manage to pick up Crushing Hope. But SoA aggressively invading the siege. They're taking that kill and trying to turn it into as big a momentum swing as they possibly can. We do see Chen soaking the mid lane, but Falstad soaking top. HotsLady is going to hit 13 first despite that, but SoA desperately needed that kill to have any chance of coming back in this game.
Yeah, they're definitely starting to fall behind. The mid game is becoming quite important for sure.
You're going to grab the bottom bruiser camp as well. So they're just they turned that one kill into a fort, a free siege camp, and an aggressive bruiser camp. Rusted Shield going to come out to peel for Malfurion, who was caught by Entomb. Tassadar is going to get out of there. He does have E available. The Leeming combo not going to finish him off. As tap available as well. Falstad flies in a little bit late to the party, but that is going to be both capture points picked up for HotsLady, and this almost forces SoA to fight over mid, but they're still down a talent tier. They're not quite 13 yet. Chen was not drinking. He's completely out of brew. Starting that fight out of brew, just sitting mounted in the bush, maybe not the best decision. Alarak gets absolutely chunked. Leoric forced to disengage. He does have, reanimation though, so he's going to slowly regen health over time. Beautiful combo by Alarak, but he should not have stayed. Tassadar may go down. Nope, self-shields. Ends up being absolutely fine. The Ancestral is going to come down onto Leoric. The silence is real for the moment. They're trying desperately to get one kill so that Leeming can get a reset. Chen going to go into Storm Earth and Fire, get on top of the Falstad. Force Wall denies the disengage, as is the Entomb. That is an Entomb as a Force Wall. Instead of trapping someone in the Entomb, you just use Entomb to trap someone in a corner. And Johanna gets picked by the Entomb again.
Entomb value is dead serious. I mean, you box Johanna in there, she has no way of getting out. Leoric definitely seems to have Johanna's number, and it's helping him turn his game around.
Yes, indeed, and that is going to be SoA picking up the Dragon Knight. Chen is going to be safe from Alarak and the Dragon Knight. No possibility he dies now. And SoA, for the first time in this set, ahead in experience, and they're about to be ahead in structures. They're starting to come back in this game.
Yeah, they definitely need to keep the pressure on, but also they need to make sure they're not overstaying their welcome. When you push for the Dragon Knight, you can be baited into a situation where you try to stick around and get the most amount of value. And that's something that HotsLady's composition would definitely do well turning around.
Yeah, we're going to see Johanna kicked away by the Dragon Knight. Did not have Iron Skin available. It's just going to walk her way back up. They ended up getting the keep wall. 20 seconds, 44% health left there. It looks like they're going to deny the Mule value by just walking up and getting the top wall as well. Mule is repairing it at the moment. They actually might have enough time to get the entire wall. This is not quite late game enough for Dragon. I think they're going to get some damage on the towers, but they want to make sure they finish everything they start in terms of structures because of that Mule. We're going to see Chen immediately get locked down as soon as he comes out of the Dragon Knight. Looks like he's going to go down again. The Ancestral does not hit, and Rhaegar tried his best to save him. Force Wall for the disengage. Vala actually going to be caught out in a corner here. Does have Vault available, but Gust into the corner, into the root, and that's going to be 2 kills going up on the board for HotsLady. Ancestral misses again. That's got to feel bad.
This is kind of what I was talking about. The displays from Alarak and cooldown resets can definitely swing the momentum back in favor of HotsLady. We're seeing it now.
And HotsLady actually decides to push top because that's where they happen to be, but they're pushing over the Bridge of Death. They want this keep, but I don't know if they can necessarily safely get this keep. Leoric is going to get a telekinesis in, does Wraith walk out, and it looks like they're actually going to be able to get the keep, which, I mean, again, this is not the most valuable keep on the map, but a keep is a keep. The lane pressure is going to be real regardless. Entomb comes down. We just see Chen is alive and well coming back into the fight, and Johanna, again, so incredibly low. Wraith Walk is going to happen aggressively for the Orc. He's trying to prevent them from retreating. Blessed Shield comes down for the peel. The Storm, Earth, and Fire diving in, getting in the slow onto absolutely everyone. Malfurion is extremely low, does go down, and the chase is still real. Falstad flies out. Johanna Condemn is going to peel for her team, but she's going to go down. She tries to create space, and they do get the Alarak, and they're going to turn around for the Johanna. That ends up being a 3 for none. And I think HotsLady might have been a little bit too aggressive pushing over that bridge.
I mean, I feel like that's the worst lane in the game to try to push.
The Force Wall actually saves Johanna. A little bit of a misplacement there. And now SoA gonna see how greedy they can be. Gonna push into the middle keep, see if they can secure that. Gust is available, so HotsLady can just decide to end this fight whenever they really want to. Gust comes down, but Falstad ends up dying. Should have used that a little tiny bit earlier. Chen might go down to the silence. He does. And this has been a bloodbath for the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, these teams have definitely been slugging it out. We're used to seeing some coordinated, high precision play, but the past minute or so, it's been reminiscent more of a quick match than coordinated competitive play. This is crazy.
And Altars are going to come up. We're going to see Vala rotate down to the bot lane. Leoric looks like he's going to push top and then rotate it. Nope, decides to back up. Doesn't know exactly where everyone is, and he is a little tiny bit low. We are going to see a duel in the bot lane. Vala and Tassadar versus Li Ming, Malfurion. I believe that Vala Tassadar is going to be able to win this in the end as long as Vala can dodge those skill shots, and so far doing a very good job of dodging all the damage Li Ming is throwing at her. Leoric, Johanna in the top lane. Alarak is there as well, coming around the corner. We're going to see Entomb for the deny of the Alarak engage. He's like, no, this is a 1v1, Alarak. You're not invited. But the Entomb's going to go down. And you're going to get there, and Leoric is going to be forced to back out.
Yeah, Leoric's like, I'll be with you in a minute, sir.
He's going to throw down the Drain Hope on Alarak. He managed to sustain himself out of that situation. He kept 2 people occupied for a long period of time, but fortunately everyone else in HotsLady in the bot lane was playing safe enough that SoA could not secure any kills in that 4v3 situation. Instead, they're just going to move over and aggressively invade the siege camp, just trying to get as much value constantly as they can. And again, Shen, root into telekinesis, into silence. He is going to get absolutely erased. And this is the danger of Chen in this composition. If there's a lot of interrupts to drink, or there's a lot of displacements, Chen can constantly has to drink to use his kit, but if he does drink, he can get baited into these bad positions. And Li Ming combo onto Vala as well is going to secure that kill. That's another 2 kills on the board for HotsLady. And they're not going to let SoA come back in this game, I don't think. They're like, no, you tried, but we're not going to let it happen.
Yeah, the story of this game so far has been HotsLady's ability to turn this Chen pick into an absolute liability. He's been dying left, right, and center at pretty much every stage of this game. I'm sure he feels very ineffective right now.
Yeah, and middle fort is going to go down for HotsLady. If they manage to rotate bot and get that fort as well, which they could do with that double siege camp pushing in, they could get a lot of value out of it. They actually are going to go top. They're going to secure that top keep, which is extremely low. Again, not the most important keep in the map here, but a keep is a keep. Catapults are catapults, even if they're pushing over the bridge of death. And they just want the value. They want the 20. They get the 20, and they back up. They're like, okay, that's all we wanted. We're leaving now. We're going to wrap back around to mid or possibly bot, depending. The double siege camp still pushing in. 3 of the siege giants are still alive. It looks like they are going to focus on pressing in mid with the remainder of their Dragon Knight life and time.
HotsLady firmly in the driver's seat with a tier advantage. Everything's going their way. SoA is going to have to do something crazy if they want to turn this around.
I don't know if they have anything crazy. Like, looking at their comp, they don't have that many crazy playmaking potentials. I mean, they've had some good Entombs. The Entombs have actually been on point. We've rarely seen Entombs this good at any point in professional play. Mostly, and part of that's the fact that Leoric hasn't been in the meta for quite a while, but even when he was, like, best even Entomb. Oh, and the Gust, but the cleanse as the Gust come down, Chen gets cleansed. He's not get knocked out of position at all. The Entomb onto Falstad. Falstad is 100% going to go down. That fly is not in his favor, but they trade for the Vala, and that's actually a win for SoA because they're down a talent here. So trading 1 for 1, they're going to start to catch up. The Ancestral comes down, saves. Alarak gets a silence onto all of the Chen clones, but Malfurion ends up dying. Not worth. And we're going to see Iron Skin pop for Johanna, but she is stuck with a Leoric on top of her, and that's going to be indestructible proc. That's not a fight you win. She's going to go down. So that ends up being a 3-for-1, and SoA basically going to pick up 20 off the back of that. They lost a keep, but they won the team fight.
It's not entirely out of the question that they'd be able to turn this game around. I'm sure that Chen player is like, look, guys, I'm bringing value. I can do things. This is pretty neat, right?
Yeah, I can do things as long as I'm not myself. If I'm 3 other people, it's fine. But if I'm just me, it's not very good. We are going to deal with these catapults in the bot lane, or top lane. The Bruiser camp is going to be taken and start to push in, but the Bruiser camp is also taken for HotsLady, and it's instantly pushed into the top of the lane. Leoric is going to have to deal with that as well. SoA going to get the bottom Bruiser camp to try and equalize some of the lane pressure here, push into that bottom lane. And if SoA can secure the next Dragon Knight, there's a possibility that they can get a counter keep and even out the lane pressure a little tiny bit. They do have mid and bot fort gone. So that is a possibility, but they are going to need to make sure that HotsLady does not get another Dragon Knight, because they're going to lose middle keep at least if that happens, and they could actually just lose the game if they opt to push in through that top lane.
Yeah, I mean, an 18, 19-minute Dragon Knight can definitely get this game in the bag for the members of HotsLady.
That is going to be a party bush. It's just a Leoric, though. He'll be back pretty quickly. If he even goes down, he actually might get out of the situation with the drain on Li Ming. And he does go down. Calamity is going to come in there and secure the kill. Also going to heal up Li Ming for the damage he took, because Dominance is a talent that sometimes gets picked up at level 4, as it did in this case. And meanwhile, Falstad is going to casually barrel roll over that wall for a clean escape.
You're in for a treat, Kev.
Storm Shield coming down across the board here for everyone. The Rhaegar ends up going down. That is a beautiful Entomb and epic mount fly out. Ends up being absolutely fun, but Li Ming ends up going down. A nice Gnem onto all of the clones, and then Gust away for the disengage. Leoric comes back, or came back in the middle of that fight, and he is going to get a kill onto the Malfurion. That ends up being 3-for-1 so far. 4-for-1. Falstad maybe should have left the fight with that fly rather than re-engaging. But this is going to be an ace. Johanna is going to go down. Destructible's going to proc. She's actually Hearth. Starts to Hearth and then dies. Seems reasonable. And is SoA going to go for the... SoA is going to go for the Dragon Knight. They're not just going to go core. They're not just going to go for a keep. They're actually going to grab the Dragon Knight before they do anything else. After an ace, I don't know if that's the right decision. I think they could have just gone for a keep and then gotten core.
They probably could have. It's good. we're in for a treat, Kev. I don't want to spoil it.
And we're going to have the Dragon Knight pushing into mid. This keep's going to get instantly deleted. I mean, SoA did they did an amazing job turning that fight around. Chen is actually a linchpin for that fight. This is going to be Li Ming defending core, but it's Li Ming defending core against a Dragon Knight. It is a 20-minute Dragon Knight, but we're going to see an aggressive Gust in. Actually, the Force Wall denies the Gust, and Vala gets erased by the silence, but Mule on core actually yielding it up. 30, 20 there's no way. If Mule saves this core, okay. That's game. We're fine.
Cavalier's about to walk out of this. He's like, all right, man. Mule saving the core on Dragonshire? Not so much. I'm sure the Chin player feels pretty vindicated at the moment. He was getting dumpstered pretty much from level 1 on. But those last couple of team fights, he really pulled it out and made himself influential.
And this is when you want to interview the players. You're like, oh, did you realize your draft was just going to be bad early game, but you expected to be able to turn around in those late game team fights with the synergies that you develop in your composition and the aggressive potential playmaking, of the available heroics? Or was that just like you got out drafted and played better? But that was an amazing force wall to deny the Gust into the top keep. That would have been a much closer end if that force wall had not been as perfect as it was.
Yeah, it's always cool when you see that high level technical ability come out. Force wall negating pretty much the whole merit of that mighty Gust. giving it a little bit of style points as SoA comes away with the first win.
How does this team have so many god awful and godlike plays back to back? There's a saying that I actually kind of like, which is that amateurs practice until they get it right, professionals practice till they can't get it wrong. You can often see the difference between teams that practice a lot in the fact that their execution is always really crisp, and teams that practice a little bit or don't have time to practice necessarily as much as other teams, and their execution is sometimes good and sometimes bad. I think that's probably most of the explanation. They know what they're doing. Their execution is just a little inconsistent.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like SoA. They're like the drunken boxing of this championship. Like that's how it comes across.
They did draft Chen, so
it was very. See, making the point. Like it was very sloppy overall. But once they baited HotsLady into fighting them on that level, that's when it really started to look dominant. I think if HotsLady just sticks to the macro game and tries to play a more crisp and straight up game and get away from these long, drawn out team fights, they could do better in the set, like going in the second game. But SoA seems to be a team that thrives on the unconventional progression.
Well, they are going to go 1-0 in the set. The second map is going to be Infernal Shrines, my personal favorite map, and I'm happy that I'm getting to cast so much of it in the and get to see the Chinese meta on the map. It's actually not. It's kind of an interesting mix of the EU and the Korean metas on the map, actually. So it's kind of really interesting to see this slightly different take. It's like looking at something you're familiar with, but from a different angle. It's really cool.
Another birthday gift for you, Cavalier Guest. Be sure to wish the man a happy birthday.
Yeah, if I haven't slept, it's still technically my birthday. I only count a day as past when I've gotten to sleep.
That's fair.
I actually have met a lot of people who are perfectly okay with the system, and a lot of people who are like, it doesn't work that way. But those people were all boring, so I don't listen to them. It's fine.
Well, it's your birthday, so we'll allow it. That's the whole technicality of it all. It's like, well, it's his birthday, so...
Getting to cast Gold League after 6 months of trying to get permission to cast Gold League was my birthday present to myself. It was very exciting for me. I was so very sad that there was no summer or fall cast of Gold League in English.
Dreams do come true, Cavalier. The woman in the middle, her spirit seemed to have lifted a little bit.
Maybe she's a fan of SoA.
Like she still looks kind of annoyed, but now she finds it funny that she's dealing with it. I don't think she likes that guy on the left, though. I don't know.
I mean, he's not looking at the camera. He's the only one who didn't get to look at the camera, Membo.
I mean, yeah, he's staring at them pretty hard. It's crazy. Wait, no, she's starting to look a little bananas.
They're going back to the hand gestures. I actually like it when they do the hand gestures. It makes me feel like they're really emoting. They're being expressive. They're passionate about whatever it is they're talking about. It. We can assume it's Heroes of the Storm, but for all we know, that guy's talking about fly fishing again.
I think he's back on fly fishing, personally.
He's like, man, last weekend...
He's like, yeah, man. SoA makes this turnaround, man, and you know what? It kind of reminds me of when I went fly fishing last week, and they're like, oh, my God. Not again.
Is this in China? Yes. This is a clean feed from China. NetEase is providing it so that we can cast the Gold Club World Championship in English for your viewing pleasure. And they are just getting the draft for Game 2 set up. And we will get right into Game 2 as soon as they do that. And as soon as the guy on the left stops talking about fly fishing. What exactly am I watching? You are watching the Gold Club World Championship Chinese Wildcard Qualifier Day 2. It is a round robin between 4 Chinese teams to determine who gets to participate in the top 8. The winner of the round robin of the 4 teams, the team who has the best record, will move on and be the 3rd Chinese team in the top 8. So far, it's 3 Korean teams, 1 EU team, 1 NA team, and it will be 3 Chinese teams in the end. And then next week, we will have group play for the top 8 teams. The week after that will be the semifinals and then the finals to determine who is the Gold Club World Champion. And it looks like the map is going to get going. Welcome to Game 2, HotsLady versus SoA on Infernal Shrines, the Gold Club World Championship Chinese Wildcard Qualifier. Malfurion is going to be the first ban out for SoA. Looks like they did not enjoy getting silenced over and over and over again. And again, ETC's just not going to be let through a draft in China. It's just never going to happen.
I mean, SoA is like, all right, we're going to ban Malfurion. HotsLady pretty much is like, well, we're contractually obligated to ban ETC because we're not letting them out of here at all. So that's going to pave the way for Murden to get picked up.
Yeah. And SoA, we haven't seen people pick Murden, though. We've seen people be like, well, yeah, we could take Murden, but then we could just take Vala instead, and then you take Murden. Oh my god, they took Murden. They're totally breaking the draft. That is a different order of picks than we've seen in the other drafts that have happened tonight. But now HotsLady takes Tychus, right?
They're pulling out all the stops. Is that Dark Matter?
That is Dark Matter.
Hi, Dark Matter.
If you hear a cat meowing, guys, that's not in your house, it's in mine. I apologize. My cat has an attention meow. It's quite noticeable. HotsLady also breaking the mold here and actually taking the early Johanna, making sure they do not get tank locked before they go into the second ban phase.
It's interesting to see the prioritization. Even over in North America, we're starting to see the Warriors fall into the first ban slots, the first pick for the second ban phase. Because it really does come down to Murden, ETC, and Johanna as far as control tanks go. If you get locked out of those, you're going to end up with a pretty interesting draft.
To say the least. And this is going to be the Johanna and the Tychus, as expected. I mean, the Tychus was 100% expected. We didn't necessarily know if they were going to lock in as support or the tank, but they did opt for the Johanna. But SoA going to go Vala, and I'm wondering if they're going to pick a Vala Tassadar or Vala Ariel there. Whichever one they don't pick up, I believe, is going to get banned. So it's a decision they just have to make. Jethro, first picking Murden in this context is breaking the draft because it's the first time it's happened despite the constant ETC bans. Chinese meta, a little tiny bit different than the NA, EU, or Korean metas. Yep. But now we're back on track. We got the clockwork going. Vala Tassadar picked up. Ariel banned out. SoA is probably going to ban... Actually, what did they ban here? They don't necessarily want to ban a support because they want to make sure they end up banning the Kerrigan. They're going to focus on the one role that HotsLady has a little bit of flex in terms of what they want to pick up, and is going to be the Bruiser role. They're just going to take the Kerrigan off the menu, and HotsLady is going to just pick up Tyrael, casually going double tank with their Tychus.
When you have Tychus available to you, Double Warrior is a very enticing offer. But the rest of this draft is going to get a little wild, Cavalier.
That is a Greymane with Sanctification. I like that quite a bit. It does lead that the last pick in their draft has to be a support. And when the last pick in your draft has to be a support, you aren't necessarily as flexible in your responses. SoA going to obviously pick up Zeratul to use VP to counter Sanctification. Brightwing pick up to deny the Greymane engage. Polymorph plus Emerald Wind is going to deny a lot of that dive potential. And Rhaegar going to be the pickup to give Greymane a burst heal, which is something he's going to desperately need after he gets chunked by all of the shenanigans that SoA has in store for him.
Zeratul play that we've seen so far tonight has been awe-inspiring. I would imagine we would see that trend continue. His ability to harass the backline is going to be an issue.
Yeah, but we got to remember this is a different team. This is not X Team's Zeratul. This is SoA's Zeratul, so it might not be quite as high level. Question from chat: China versus NA, which one is stronger right now? I think that E-Star, which beat Ballistics 3-2 in scrim practice for the boot camp for this tournament, is probably a little bit stronger than any NA team. I'm just going to put that out there.
That's a safe assumption. I would say for sure.
The top Chinese teams, if they're actually allowed to play together and don't have visa issues, so they can actually, be their team that they've practiced for months with, pretty far ahead of any of the teams in NA right now, at least. But I imagine the coming year we're going to have more stable rosters. NA is going to be practicing together more frequently, and I think that's going to start to change. I think NA will start potentially to catch up.
Well, I mean, the impression that I've gotten is that NA teams, they scrim a lot, obviously. I don't know if they take it as seriously as they would in the new format of HGC. I think by having more of an exhibition set up over the course of the league rather than qualifiers and regional things that happen every now and again, it's going to force them to play at a higher level more often, and hopefully that raises our level of play.
We're going to have another pause. We have a pause. We can keep talking about this. I actually have heard that from a number of NA pros, that even though they do scrim a lot, most of the NA teams do scrim 6+ hours a day, they don't take it very seriously. They don't always play at 100%, and there's this culture on their teams where it's okay. It's okay not to do that. And I remember Astral Authority was talking about it. They were scrimming against Ballistics and MP Black at pre-BlizzCon, and they were taking Ballistics and MP Black were taking it very seriously, and they were like Astral Authority had sort of a revelation, like, this is how seriously they take their scrims, and that's why they're so much further ahead. If we want to catch up, we have to be just as serious. So some NA teams are figuring that out, that it's not the amount of time you put in a lot of ways, it's how seriously you focus when you're putting that time in. There's this idea in the book called Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, between just practicing and having intentional practice, where you're really focusing on trying to get better at a specific thing. And for anyone who's ever heard of the 10,000 hour rule, that's the book. And it's not just about putting 10,000 hours of practice into something mindlessly. It has to be intentional practice, where you're focusing specifically on getting better at certain criteria.
Yeah, I feel like you got to take those scrims like it's Game 7 of BlizzCon. Like, if you don't approach it with that level of seriousness, you're going to go into a region like Korea and like China who do take practicing that seriously, and the results speak for themselves. And Jethro makes a good point. Roster apocalypse is something that, damages NA way more than any other.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about you think about other MOBAs. You can play your role and not really necessarily need to play with your team in a lot of cases in some other MOBAs. I mean, obviously they're all team focused games, but you're alone like half the game in your lane in some other MOBAs, which is my understanding. Even though I've never actually played League, people have talked to me about it and talked about the strategy of it. You can be an individual playmaker and not really have to synergize with your team. Here's the Storm doesn't work like that. You need a lot of synergy with your team. You need to be on the same page, doing the same things at the same time, playing the same style, playing the comp the same way. If you have an aggressive comp, if you have a pick comp, if you have a wave clear comp, if you have a macro comp, like whatever, you need to be on the same page. And that synergy, that trust, is built up over time. If you have someone being replaced on the roster every month, you don't build that up. It just doesn't happen. So we're going to have HotsLady on the left, SoA on the right. And we're going to see a little bit of a 5-man mid-brawl, which is actually not something we see a whole lot of. Normally we do see the teams rotating the lanes early on in the Chinese meta. They're making sure they get the wave cleared mid first, but they're comfortable sending someone in the lane. We do see Tyrael is going to go to the top and beat the solo laner for HotsLady. And I'm wondering if we're going to see a 4-man rotation out of these teams, or if we're going to see some other newish laning arrangement. Chinese teams really seem to like trying to get a value out of different laning arrangements. We're going to see Brightwing in the top lane. So Brightwing versus Tyrael. Tyrael going to consistently rotate. Looks like he's actually just rotating down for globes, not even for the soak. Just wants to make sure he gets that regeneration mastery to get one stacked up as quickly as possible. And he is going to get a little bit of extra damage and then immediately leave as soon as he gets the globe, unless he can get some pressure on the ball. Nope, backs up. He's rotating for globes.
He's like, don't mind me, guys.
I recognize that rotation. I recognize the globe greed. I am a globe greeter. When I play any hero that has a globe stack, I will rotate for those globes.
You got to do it. At this level, play for Chrono Reach and Master, you got to get that value out of it. I
You're
understand.
actually going to see block picked up from Muradin. That is a response to the Greymane, but it's going to do absolutely nothing against the Tychus. So it's going to be interesting to see if Muradin does just manage to live through fights or gets absolutely chunked consistently. It's going to be interesting. And both teams, I think, are going to ignore the Shrine for the moment and just try and soak 4 before they end up starting it out. Looks like SoA is going to start the Shrine before they have level 4. It looks like they decided they were going to lose the race to 4 and started to get ahead on the race for the Shrine itself. It's an interesting decision. But they are going to barely get to 4 after HotsLady. That was extremely close. But Brightwing in the top lane, Brightwing has the global. Tyrael does not. Brightwing can come down whenever she wants to. We're going to see Brightwing come now. This is now a 5v4 until Tyrael gets here, and this is going to force HotsLady to back out. They don't want to fight in that scenario. Rhaegar almost goes down, but the mobility from Ghostwolf does allow him to be absolutely fine. And Tassadar forced to burn E to survive. Looks like they are going to get the pick onto Tassadar, and that will be the first blood of the game going over to HotsLady. But they trade for the Greymane, who had to go deep for that kill. Brightwing going to go down to overkill from Tychus in the back, and it looks like HotsLady is going to pick up the first Punisher.
HotsLady looking to force out game 3. It's not too often you see a team fight where Tassadar is the first one to go down. But at the end of the day, HotsLady come out ahead.
Just barely. You're going to see Brightwing move to that top lane. Going for the soak, trying to maintain parity. This is going to be a 3-man push for HotsLady while Greymane comes back to life and Johanna tries to double soak mid and top. Nice bait by SoA, getting that Punisher really deep away from the potential collapse of HotsLady. It is going to go down. They get the front wall, which is enough for the first Punisher, and then end up backing out.
Pretty good amount of value still overall for HotsLady. They can keep at this pace, definitely have a shot at forcing on game 3, I think.
But, I mean, SoA was behind in the early game as well, in the last game, and they really seem to bring it together in the late game. That seems to be their strength. If they can stay even, I think SoA has a better understanding of late game teamfights, and I think they also have, in some ways, better talent spikes. Kala's Embrace at 7 for Tassadar is going to be enormous. We're going to see some amazing heroics picked up. I mean, VP? No, not even contest. VP is one of the best heroics in the game. It's going to be close, though. It's going to be close.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have someone on the side of SoA feeding left, right, and center like Chin did last game. So if they can keep that ship together.
You're actually going to see the ability burst damage build coming out of Greymane here. That is the new cocktail build. He's going to be focusing on trying to finish that quest. No, he doesn't even care that he has a cocktail build. He's just going to dive in and kill Muradin. Casually dive in as Greymane, kill Muradin. Not something you see every day. Everyone else got chunked at the same time. A little bit sloppy actually. Not a great amount of focus fire. Phase Shield is going to come in here. Going to save the Zeratul. He probably would have gotten away regardless. But HotsLady is just like, I don't understand how they got everyone that low, and somehow Muradin was the first to go down.
These team fights have been weird, man. Like over the last Shrine phase, we saw Tassadar go down first. It's like, this is atypical stuff.
Only in China. Only in China. They are going to grab the bottom siege, and this point HotsLady is just like painting the map. They're grabbing everything that is free for them to grab, and SoA seems very afraid to contest.
I can understand they are a little tentative. They only have Brightwing for, they have Tassadar shielding as well, but they don't have like the meatiness of Chin there. So I get it.
They're gonna have Brightwing Z in, but did you see that, Tassadar?
Calculated. Not even close. I'm telling you, man. He's just like easy to escape my
He
life.
had less than 50 health left. That was so incredibly close. No health, no mana. Taps, comes back. Like, is SoA going to actually pick up this Punisher all because that Tassadar did not die with critical E timing? It looks like he is. They're going to pick up the Punisher. They're even going to get the kill onto Johanna, maybe. Condemn actually bringing everyone after her. Zeratul is going to use the reblink to get on top of her. Does secure the kill. They lose Vala in the process. And HotsLady just, every time someone on their team gets focused, they're like, okay, you kill that person, we'll kill this person. That seems like a reasonable trade. I'm not sure if that's a game-winning strategy, but it is resulting in an absolute bloodbath for both sides.
I mean, it's kind of passing the buck towards the mid and late game. They're at least finding themselves able to hold on.
And you're going to see Leeching Plasma actually be significant here. Those constant shields from Tastar are going to prevent Zeratul from taking any damage and actually heal up as he steals this camp. 10 is picked up first for SoA, but not by very much. We're going to see Force Wall, Blink Heal, VP, and Avatar. No big surprises there. Vala holding her heroic for the moment. I think there's a strong argument for both Strafe and Reign of Vengeance, given the compositions. It is going to be Strafe. And Blessed Shield, Sanctification, Go for the Throat, and Ancestral and Odin picked up for HotsLady. Pretty similar talents across the board. We actually almost always see Odin on this map in particular, just because the increased range is so good at both pushing with and defending against Punishers or zoning Shrines if needed. Oh, the VP catch. Are they going to be able to secure a kill off of this? I don't believe they'll be able to do so. Sanctification is, after all, available. This is one of the things that SoA needs to be aware of. They actually, in most cases, are going to need to save VP to cancel Sank, as opposed to using VP to split fights partway through the fight. Because if you VP first, then Sank is a great follow-up to make sure that no kills happen as a result of the VP.
Yeah, the timing of those heroics is definitely going to be important and play a huge factor. And there's some long cooldowns as well, so I definitely think that's going to end up deciding some team fights.
John Knight from chat. Last game felt like a clown fiesta. This game feels like a funhouse fiesta. I can kind of agree with that. Tygus is going to go down. The Ancestral does miss. Force Wall is going to almost deny the kill on Tyrael, but Eldruin's is a pretty good ability. He manages to juke everything, and the chase is real, though. Murden jumps over the wall, tries to get the Stormbolt, not quite in range. And Zeratul did not have any fancy tricks up his sleeve to close those gaps. Vorpal was on cooldown. Seeker in the Dark was not available because Singularity Spike was not on Tyrael. And we are going to see Greymane go down behind his towers. That was some aggressive damage.
Yeah, so he was like, well, before you go, Greymane, we got one more thing. Oh, you're dead.
And I bet he's really grateful he didn't go Wizened Duelist right
now. Yeah, those stacks be back to start for sure.
And on the back of that kill, it looks like SoA is going to get this shrine completely uncontested. We do have Murden pushing in the mid lane. He did good crowd control at 4, so he actually has a surprising amount of wave clear. Brightwing soaking bot, Zeratul 1v1ing Tyrael in the mid lane, soaking that lane as well. SoA is going to be able to pick up 13 and then get the Punisher, pushing at a talent advantage. There's going to be a narrow window of opportunity where that's going to be the case. But narrow windows of opportunity are something that we've seen Chinese teams really able to take advantage of consistently.
Yeah, I mean, a second can feel like an eternity with the way these teams try to get value and get so many things done in such a short amount of time. Every second counts.
And it looks like HotsLady is like, nah, we don't want to fight when you're on 13. You can get that fort for free from your Punisher. We'll get bottom fort for free from our Siege plus our push. Zeratul's going to rotate down to help with that, and Johanna could easily go down here if the damage was there, but damage wasn't quite there. Polymorph was on cooldown. Not going to be able to secure that kill. And she does manage to get out. Top fort does go down, though, and that will be the first fort of the game going over to SoA. And again, they looked a little shaky in the early game. They are picking it up here in the mid game.
I mean, last time we saw the Junkin boxing style really start to come into its own at the level 16 mark. If they're going to turn this around, we're going to have to see a repeat of that, because it's getting a little interesting.
This is a clean feed, by the way. Guys, the sound is just inconsistent. Sometimes they're broadcasting it, and sometimes they're not, and sometimes the volume changes. So I'm trying to keep it up, but there's limited options for me, and I don't necessarily control the entire thing.
Yeah, there is game audio for this game, but it is
very quiet on the clean feed, unfortunately. Tassadar and Zeratul going down in that fight, and HotsLady aggressively choosing to pursue there. That's not something we would normally see. A pursuit that aggressive, but we also wouldn't have normally seen teams stay around that long after the Punisher went down. I like that, Maznas. We're just gonna see both teams soak and try and get camps. Actually, try and push in. They're relatively even in experience. A little bit of a structure lead for SoA. If they continue to get the Punishers, they'll obviously be in really, really good shape. But managing the lanes is the #1 priority right now for both teams.
SoA do have a structure advantage for the moment. When the next Shrine phase comes up, if they're able to come away with a big team fight, they could start to knock on one of these keeps.
Siege going to be picked up for SoA. Bruiser's going to be picked up for HotsLady. SoA probably wants to make sure they get their Bruisers before the Punisher phase starts. It's going to be close if whether or not they can get 16. They will be able to get 16 if they wait for the Punisher phase to start. But HotsLady might force the issue by getting on top of them first. They're actually going to push top. And if they can get this keep, they will secure 16 before they go on the Punisher, especially if they can get a kill here. But Greymane dives in and immediately gets Polymorph. That's what my concern is with any dive here against Brightwing. Brightwing, in my mind, is the premier anti-dive support, but that is going to secure the kill. Sanctification and Ancestral going down. Murden's going to be forced to pop Avatar here just to live. His healing static going to keep him alive for a little bit, but not quite going to keep him alive through the fight. And HotsLady picking up the fort and 16 off the back of those kills, and they're going to get that Punisher for free.
Yeah, it's tough when you blow heroics to try to save teammates and they end up going down anyway. The Avatar doesn't really get them too much value there. HotsLady's looking like they're starting to crack the code on how to deal with this awkward, long, drawn-out team fight style that SoA's bringing to the table.
Tyrael backing for full health and full mana. He was a little tiny bit low. Nothing that a good tier player is not used to seeing after a fight like that. We're going to see 3 people focusing on the Shrine. Tychus, Rhaegar, and Greymane. They really want to make sure they get this finished before everyone on SoA is alive, since this will be 16 versus 16. The faster they can burn it down, the more confident they are going to feel. SoA probably not going to contest. They're probably just going to try and get the soak in the lane and then back up to make sure there's not a minion wave pushing in along with the Punisher. And they actually give Greymane some free Gillian cocktail stacks right there. They didn't necessarily have to do that. They could have backed up a little bit sooner, but it's not a big deal. Brightwing going to be pushing in the top lane, meanwhile, trying to even out the experience efficiency, and the chase on Zeratul is real. BP for the disengage, but that's a 100-second cooldown that's been used there to deny the kill on the Zeratul.
That's a huge resource to use when you're just trying to save your own skin in a situation where he probably could have been a lot more safe and not had to do that. They might end up missing that later on.
Murden gets John Cena'd, which means no peel. Brightwing goes down as a result of that. Condemned doing a lot of work there. They are going to get middle fort, and bottom fort is just like a breath away from death. They could rotate down and get that. That would be all the forts down for HotsLady. No matter where the Punisher spawns, they're going to feel like they're at a definitive advantage. And unless HotsLady makes a mistake, I feel like SoA is going to lose this game, and we're going to go on to a game 3. But HotsLady made some mistakes in the last game. This is by no means 100% over.
It's still very much anybody's game, but HotsLady have definitely done a much better job, I feel, at managing the Clown Fiesta aspect of these team fights. It's not like a 5-minute team fight where heroics keep coming off of cooldowns. It's like they're making decisive plays, they get kills, they get the heck out of dodge before things get too crazy, and they stay on this pace. We might be looking at game 3.
HotsLady trading siege camps. SoA going to grab theirs basically for free. HotsLady actually could have invaded that. I think they would have been okay with the fight. They do have Holy Ground. They could have secured it relatively easy, but they decided they didn't want to fight without more of their heroics available. They were okay with the trade. Meanwhile, SoA going to rotate to the bottom and grab that siege camp. And they could actually push in bottom with this and potentially get the towers there. That would catch them up a little bit in experience. And at this point, HotsLady winning the race to 20, they probably don't want to fight anyway. SoA can take advantage of the fact that they probably don't want to fight to push in and try and catch up a little bit in experience. But looks like Zeratul is going to be the mobile ward, gets the rending cleave, or gets the cleave on people, blinks out. And that's a huge VP, but again, that went down before Sank, which means if any follow-up tries to happen, Sank will deny it. And I really wish they were saving that VP for Sank to cancel the effectiveness of it as opposed to trying to split fights with it.
Yeah, it just seems like they're really eager to jump into these team fights and they're not really grasping what can happen after that initial engagement. Sanctification is really key to turning off anything that SoA could try to do to get these team fights in their favor.
Vala completely isolated in that recorder there. The Q upgrade for Tychus picked up at 13 and 16 does an enormous amount of damage, 100% secured that kill. This is one of the things you can always do versus mobile heroes as Tychus. Pick up those Q talents, 13 and 16. It does you an incredible amount of damage. When they try and get away, you just chase after them with Q. And they really, usually can't get away from that initial running gun, especially if you can grenade them back into you as well. Off the back of that single kill, they are going to pick up the Shrine basically for free, and they're going to soak mid as well and get 20. And they're even going to have Tyrael and Tychus rotate up to the Bruiser camp and get that as well. This is going to be a lot of lane pressure coming out of HotsLady.
This is going to be a big moment for SoA. They're going to be at a tier disadvantage trying to defend the Punisher. We've seen the teams do a lot of small wall aggressive shenanigans, so I definitely expect HotsLady to apply the pressure there.
SoA picking up their own Bruisers, trying to get the counter lane pressure, but SoA is in a bad spot here. They need to defend against this Punisher perfectly, not lose anyone, or at a minimum they're going to lose a keep, and they could actually just lose the game if they overstep even a tiny bit, and the Vol and Zeratul have been overstepping quite a bit this game.
Habitual line steppers. That's the best way that I can put it.
You're going to see the small wall go down pretty much instantaneously. They are going to get right onto the keep. The Punisher actually not on the same page here. It's like, guys, we're focusing the keep. Punisher's like, nah, man, but I want to get this tower real quick. But no, you don't understand it. We won't spend on Pentacles. No, the tower is really important, man. Punisher is going to get baited into middle keep. The bottom keep is going to go down. Finally, this means Core is no longer invulnerable, and the big red button is the Tychus upgrade, and we're actually going to see Holy Arena as well, increasing the damage by 25%. VP on Core to deny. Murden is going to go down, however, and at this point, I think this game is pretty much over. I don't think that SoA can defend Core the way they are currently fighting this.
Yeah, the Drunken Boxing style didn't really work out for him this time. Having the lockdown and playmaking potential from Shin in the last game, missing that, was pretty big. It felt like Zeratul was just using Void Prison like in a panic gesture defensively, whereas when we saw Zeratul earlier tonight, it was much more aggressive, much more offensive, and just like setting up with follow-up kills.
And it was always like right on top of the Sanks to deny the value of Sank as opposed to early on in the fights. Also, I'm really happy we saw Holy Arena there. Holy Arena is one of the best talents when you're up a talent tier and you're like 20 to 18 and there's a potential you're just going to be able to end the game. Just get on top of Core, have your whole team get on top of it. The 4 seconds of Sank plus the 25% increased damage. That melted that Core. That was a beautiful use.
That was a wild scene. HotsLady managed to keep their lead going into the mid and late game. Come away with the victory.
And this will be the last game of the evening. Regardless, there's 3 sets. I believe this is the last game. There's 3 sets being played tonight. I believe there were 3 sets last night, and this is the 3rd set. So, and this is the 3rd game of the 3rd set. These are our best of 3s, so this should be the last game of the evening. I know EU HGC events are starting up momentarily. But
last game of the morning for me.
I mean, it's morning here, but it's evening there. Really good casting, guys. Thank you, Valdemir. Appreciate that. Speaking of fan appreciation, thank you to The Bloods, Mr. Salty Pants with a Z, and Maznaz for the follows. Appreciate it. I don't have the alerts up just because I don't want them to interfere with the cast, but I'm checking my email. If you do follow, you will get a shout out. That's what you want. Feel free to throw me a follow.
I appreciate that, Valdemir. This is a very interesting exercise for me, Cavalier. Because one, I'm really starting to feel it now. Like I'm tired. But the other angle is like I see the game out from what I'm gathering 8 seconds ahead of you. So I can't really do play-by-play because I'll start talking about things that you haven't seen yet, and then it's just kind of weird. So like I'm trying to like queue up my analytical comments.
Just pretend
like
you're like a
8
level
seconds
13
behind.
Prescient.
I'm trying, man, but it's hard to do at 7 in the morning when I haven't gone to sleep yet.
You know what you should do? You should go splash cold water in your face.
I might do that.
It will help a lot.
Not even kidding. So it's just been like I'm trying to remember what happens 8 seconds ago, and I'm listening to you, and trying to go off of that. It's just, I've never had to do something like this for forecasting, so it's
the joys of learning to cast from clean feeds.
It's tough.
You are geographically separate from your co-casters, so they're getting it at a different speed than you are. Am I going to be streaming more Gold League games in future weeks? Yes, I'll be streaming all of them. This is the Gold Club World Championships. This is going to be the top 8 teams, plus the qualifiers that are happening. The global wildcard is finished. MVP Miracle ended up advancing. This is the Chinese wildcard qualifier. It looks like E-Star is going to be advancing. I don't think they can be upset given the records so far. But then next week there will be 3 days of the top 8 group play. That is going to be Zero Panda Super Perfect Team, and whoever wins this, MVP Miracle, MVP Black, Ballistics, Dignitas, and Astral Authority. I'll be casting that, and then the week after that, I'll be casting the semifinals and finals coming out of the group play. Basically, if it's in Chinese, I'm going to be trying to have an English stream of it.
That's why he's the Socrates of Heroes of the Storm.
And this is my 9th hour of... Actually, at 1 a.m. when we started, that was my 9th hour of casting for the day. So we're getting into almost 5 o'clock here. So we're going into my 13th hour of casting in the last 25 hours? 24 hours. No, I can do math. 28 hours.
Caster man.
28 hours. 13 hours of casting in the last 28.
The marathon man himself.
Valdemir86, thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Map 3 is going to be Cursed Hollow, by the way, guys. One of my personal favorite maps. I don't like it as much as Shrines, but I also think Cursed Hollow is, in some ways, the best competitive map because I think it's the most even. And it has a pretty big variety of strategies because instead of the objective being winner takes all, it sort of stacks up over time. And I really like the fact that the bosses actually end up being the win condition. Agroscum, I wonder what they're saying. Oh, they're talking about the guy on the left's fly fishing hobby. It's what they always talk about. Sometimes they talk about when his grandma makes him play charades and how he doesn't like it. And that's why the woman in the middle always looks so bored and distressed.
I think she hates this guy. Like every time she looks at him, you can just see it. You just see disdain. She's not hiding it at all.
Disdain isn't just something that happens when you don't do your laundry.
Thanks, Holler, man. I appreciate that. The long distance caster. I don't know, like every time she looks at that guy on the left, it looks like she either wants to punch him in his face or she's kidnapped and she wants to get out of there.
Maybe she's just really tired. Have we considered the idea that she's just really tired?
I haven't. I just don't think she likes that guy. Exactly, John. That every time she looks that guy's way, it's just like she says this look like if you don't shut up right now. But then the other half of the time she's like, send help, guys. Like I'm not safe. I'm kidnapped. I'm gonna be holding up a newspaper with today's date in an hour.
That might be a little bit of exaggeration, but she really just genuinely does not like happy. I've never seen someone at a Heroes of the Storm desk looks so. Wait, was that like a half smile? Did she almost smile? Did someone almost make her laugh? No, she's back to her. She's back to her. No, there it is. Her cheeks actually went up. She's happy all of a sudden, and the guy look how relieved they look. Oh my god, they're like, yes, she's finally smiling. Their like minds are blown. Oh, the game's starting. I'm happy too. I understand.
She's like, I'm happy because this is going to be the last game and I get to leave no matter what after this.
So we're going to have HotsLady versus SoA. Game 3. I believe this is the last set of the Chinese wildcard qualifier. Day 2 on Cursed Hollow. And as always, the contractual obligation to ban ETC is followed through on HotsLady. Like, I want to know what happened in their scrims leading up to this event that ETC is always banned by one of the teams. Like, we have not seen him make it past the first ban phase in any of the games.
I mean, it's getting to the point now where it almost might be beneficial to just ban ETC out of the tournament just for variety's sake. He has not made it out of the first ban phase out of any of these sets. Like, he's not getting any play here. This is crazy.
SoA can respond with the Murden ban, taking both of the complete kit tanks off the table. The rest of the draft will focus around patching the weaknesses of the tanks, and I imagine we're going to see a prioritization on Tyrael before the second ban phase for SoA. Malfurion is going to be the lock-in for HotsLady. I really expect SoA to pick up Tyrael here. The question is, who do they pick up Tyrael with? But they could surprise me. Pick up Johanna instead, or just ignore the situation entirely and be happy with whatever they end up getting.
You know, I've started to see something of a pattern with the meta here. Obviously, ETC is going to get banned out. Vala Tacit are always a very strong synergy and combination. Everybody seems to like Malfurion. He never makes it into the second ban phase. Well, we could see some variety.
SoA does pick up the Johanna, and I'm asking myself right now, did they pick up Tychus and let Vala go through? Or did they pick up the Vala, understanding that they won't get... No, they... SoA is pulling out all the stops, guys. They are breaking the order of the draft that we have seen in every game to date, and they're like, you know what's good on Cursed Hollow? Poke. You know who's good poke? Li Ming. Let's just take Li Ming. Let's just do it. Let's just go crazy and pick something that's not a tank, a support, Vala, or Tychus in the first two picks. And they're just going crazy. HotsLady is gonna lock in Greymane. Apparently the insanity is spreading. It's just they're like, yep. We have Greymane. He has no self sustain, and you see Greymane paired with the burst support, but Malfurion's good enough. And HotsLady's just like, nope. We're gonna pick up Tyrael to enable the Greymane, and this, to my mind, is gonna force an Abba ban. You can't have double Greymane in late game team fights, and Abathur is a little bit too strong and cursed, but you gotta remember this is China. This is the region where Dahaka was first played in professional play, and he has continued to be a staple of their professional scene, which means that if they go Abathur, Dahaka will just hunt him down, so maybe we're not going to see... I'm actually seeing the bit on the Dahaka instead.
Yeah, they were like, no, we're not gonna level that. Good
so
sir.
They're banning Dahaka to take
fast.
Abathur, right? That's the obvious chain of reasoning.
We'll see.
HotsLady has to stop and think about it, because this is a draft unlike any of the drafts that have happened the evening. I don't understand that ban, because HotsLady's going to ban Falstad. That makes Abathur even more likely for SoA, even better for SoA, because the less globals that are on the map, the better Abathur becomes.
The Abathur elephant in the room is an equation that has to get solved at some point.
Yeah, they're going to lock their support in. I agree with that decision. With this many globals banned out, if they leave Abathur on the table, and they better have a real good solution to double Greymane. Like a really good solution. Because double Greymane with Sank is a tough thing to deal with. Tychus is an okay solution to Greymane, but not to 2 Greymanes, and not to hatted Greymanes. Is very
This draft's gonna get weird, Kev.
yeah, is Varian legal? Varian is not legal. In official Blizzard events, no hero is legal until they have been out for 2 weeks. Varian has been out for not quite one. Like 1 and a bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what just happened?
Right.
Okay, so Gul'dan is going to be picked up for HotsLady. Very effective wave clear, a lot of stacked damage over time. Normally we associate mages with being burst heroes. Gul'dan's actually kind of a sustained damage over time hero. So they have the burst from the Greymane, and they have sustained damage over time from the Gul'dan. And they have Zeratul. They're going to be solo tank Tyrael. And they're denying the Zeratul pickup from SoA, which means there's no possible counter to Sank, although SoA didn't really feel like using the VP to counter Sank anyway. SoA going to pick up the Chen. That draft just was a dramatic departure from all of the previous drafts in this tournament.
I mean, I guess because it's game 3. This is the first game 3 we've seen tonight. They're just pulling out all the stops and going for something different. I think the Chin pick is going to be really interesting. With Tyrael and Greymane, they have a composition. Well, and Zeratul as well, they have a composition that is very dive-centric. That's going to leave Gul'dan exposed to a lot. And if Chin can apply pressure there and then serve enough of a distraction for Tychus and Li Ming to get their damage in, they could have a pretty good
I got a question for you. Looking at that comp, you got Malfurion, Greymane, Tyrael, Zeratul, Gul'dan. What do they have that interrupts drinking?
Thinking. Horrify?
Yeah. And potentially Holy Ground. No, actually, I don't think Holy Ground does interrupt drinking because it does. Acts weirdly with talented displacements act a little bit differently from normal displacements. So if Chen goes Elusive Brawler and negates all that auto attack damage, he can literally just sit in the middle of their team and not die.
He's gonna be annoying. Without any reliable interrupts at the base kit level,
mandatory beginning.
He's gonna have that.
Pause.
I think this has happened pretty much every game. He's gonna have a free trip back to Gul'dan's face, and it's gonna be hard to deal with him and take him down. He's gonna be the jazz hands, just drawing the attention. Meanwhile, Li Ming is just throwing bowling balls.
I mean, the potential silence from Malfurion and the potential horror from Gul'dan are the only things that are going to interrupt him going into Storm Within Fire as well, which is going to give him essentially a free second health bar in the majority of team fights in the late game. That's a pretty big advantage. I'm looking at the comp and thinking about the lack of interrupts. I'm liking that Chen pickup more and more.
Well, I mean, keep in mind, when we saw this earlier in the set, it was up against an Alarak who has a ton of interrupts. There were a lot more ways to stop him from drinking. So he's not going to look to be that liability he served as in the first game.
Mm-hmm. And we did see some amazing late game Chen plays in that game 1. Pretty much secured the game. So if he's not punished in the early game and brings out that late game potential the way he did in game 1, I'm a little bit afraid for HotsLady that SoA is going to really carry this game.
They've backed themselves into an interesting spot for sure. I think Chen's going to be the X factor.
And we are going to see Even in Death be the pickup for Tyrael. He's planning to die a lot. I understand that decision-making process because Malfurion, not a burst healer, and they're going to be focusing a lot of attention on making sure that Greymane stays alive. Shen does pick up Elusive Brawler. Dash for Tychus. It looks like Reinforce for Johanna. Force Armor for Li Ming. That's a critical talent versus Zeratul and Greymane. And Gul'dan, really. So she really desperately needed that Force Armor. And we're going to see Chen versus Tyrael in the top lane. We're going to see a little bit of, I think, of a trialing attempt from both teams at the bottom here. Rhaegar and Tychus versus Malfurion, Zeratul, Johanna coming down as well, which is going to force the Gul'dan to rotate down because they need more wave clear to keep that Johanna in check, and then leaning Greymane in the mid lane. And we're finally seeing like a more standard laning arrangement from both teams. 1-1-3. It is, of course, harder to have non-standard laning arrangements on Cursed Hollow in particular.
It's going to be a lot of aggression going on across the map.
That route over the wall, denying the chase from overkill, I think actually saves Zeratul. I'm pretty... I mean, he almost would have gone out. It would have been very, very close. So Malfurion putting those roots in the critical positions. Extremely nice play here from both teams, denying the kills. Playing aggressive, playing into the team, but also backing up at the right times, not letting the enemy team get kills when you're being aggressive. Chen, however, is just going to be bullying Tyrael on top lane. We're going to have to see if rotation happened to make sure that he doesn't necessarily get too much value out of that. We're going to see a two-man rotation, again with the drinking. And he's just trying so hard to get the auto attacks off so he can reset Elusive Brawler and continue to drink, and he's so low! But he does eventually go down. 3 people, it turns out, is enough to kill Chen, but 2, I think, would not have been enough there, and that's going to be a scary proposition in teamfights.
Well, I mean, when you're able to get a kill this early on Chen, it definitely speaks to some possibilities. Again, we see Chen falling victim to the heavy rotation. It's something that HotsLady can definitely look to use their advantage later on.
I feel like he just needs to know when to back up. His laning is his late game team fighting Chen. It's so good, but his early game laning, he just pushes all the way into the towers. He's like, oh, I'm on the towers now. Nothing bad could possibly happen.
And I don't need to look at my mini map either. I'm sure everything's fine.
Yeah, we're going to see the Donkey Kong build coming out of Chen, the keg toss at level 4. It's pretty much a mandatory talent at high levels of play just because you need that long range push check once the quest is finished. We actually don't think we've seen much of anything else. Actually, we did see the kick build in the previous game. We're going to see the interrupt, shield glare from Johanna denying Gul'dan the channel. And looks like both teams are going to set up, but Chen staying in the top lane and continue to push in against the Tyrael, which Li Ming's poke is significantly better and Chen's push is better. And HotsLady would actually be better served, I think, just to give this up rather than trying to continue fighting over it. But both teams are going to fight over it, and both teams are going to try and soak all 3 lanes while doing it.
We saw this last time we saw Cursed Hollow. Like, these tribute fights come very stalled progressions where soaking's still the priority and people just kind of hang around. But from what I just saw, they're trying to put the foot to the pedal for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the danger here is that, you know, they do have 2 heroes, and each team has a hero in the top lane, but Chen's wave clear is better than Tyrael's, which means eventually he will start pushing into the towers, as we saw earlier, but without a rotation to kill the Chen can just do so much work. We're seeing Chen chunked a little bit, but if this goes on for much longer, 7 will be picked up, and he'll have either Boulder Flavor or Brewmaster's Balance, which means he's going to get a lot more damage mitigation, and it's not going to be as big an issue. We are going to see Tychus ever get caught in a corner, and he ends up getting absolutely erased. I don't think he should have been that far in. And that will be the tribute going over to HotsLady. They were patient, and SoA overcommitted.
Yeah, Tychus was playing like he had Rhaegar and Tassadar on his team. Not so much, good sir. Good night.
Brewmaster's Balance is going to pick up 10. We see him drinking just that one solo tower. It does run it out of ammo. And again, he almost got the kill on Tyrael. Tyrael pre-planned Eldritch Ruins, realizing he was low enough and that was a real possibility. We're going to see Greymane and Malfurion taking the bruisers. Tychus and Rhaegar are going to be doing the same for SoA. Both teams going for lane pressure. Chen goes over the wall looking for this Tyrael kill. That was actually a lot closer than I think that Tyrael wanted it to be.
I mean, this Chen is pretty much Evil Knievel, man. Like, he's just Super Dave diving in here without a net. Hasn't always paid off for him, but it's exciting every time we see it.
Did you see that? Did you see that? He literally drank. He literally drank for like 1/10 of a second to get the shield that denied the cleave from Zeratul, and he ends up just walking away. He actually lives with like less than 50 health. And if he regularly executes plays like that, I understand why he's so aggressive, because normally he probably gets away with it. It's just when he's playing against certain teams that he has struggles a little tiny bit. That was so incredibly close. That was literally drinking for the minimum time to get the shield and then walking through his gate to safety. That was crisp.
I mean, I've never seen such play that is both nonchalant and ham. Like he dives in, it's insane, and then he just like strolls away. Like, all right, guys, I didn't get the kill. See you later. I got 13 health. Calculated. Goodbye.
We are going to see this tribute go over to HotsLady. Malfurion in the back line. Li Ming could not get in range for the poke. Singularity Spike is going to finish her off. Force Armor not quite enough to save her in this instance. Tychus almost goes down as well to Eldruins, but barely manages to get out of there in time. And we're going to have another pause. This is where we break out the tasteless line. You got to remember, guys, that the vehicle of esports is technology. Sometimes the vehicle breaks down, but we're going to get back up and running for you here momentarily. So you can continue with the ride of your lives.
This woman's trying so hard to smile at this guy. She's actually starting to look like she looks a little happier now. Good for her. Good for you.
I wonder if the lag in China is just really this bad that it comes and goes and they just need to pause the game every so often to deal with the lag.
I mean, I'm sure their infrastructure is insane.
But is it insane everywhere? Is it insane in this particular studio?
It's got to be something, right? I don't understand why there would be so many pauses. It's like, oh, hey, my mouse just exploded in my hand. Can I get a replacement, please? Like, I don't know. Because you would think they would, like, triple check all of these things. So the only thing that could really be a pause would be, you know, the human element. Someone's like, well, I don't know. There's something on that front, or it's like there's some intermittent circumstance that they have no control over that forces them to pause. I just don't see the reasons there.
I think it's tactical, to be honest. China does Dota. I don't know enough about the Chinese scene or the Chinese rulebook. I do know that in Korea, if you get a pause and it's not justified, you get censured by the organization. I'm not sure exactly what that involves because it's never happened in my experience. All the pauses have, in fact, been justified. But I'd be curious if it was just like, oh, I died. I need to take a break for a second, recollect, and collect myself. We're just gonna pause the game.
Aren't they like not allowed to talk during pauses? I thought that was a rule.
I don't think they're allowed to talk in chat during pauses. They're not like allowed to talk to anyone outside the booths unless it's technical staff. So they're not allowed to like talk to their coach or anything.
And it very well could be tactical pauses. Like if they pause and talk about like, well, if they do this, then we'll do that. I don't know. It seems it's messed up.
Chinese teams hire hackers to DDoS each other. I'd actually be curious if Blizzard provided a local tournament client for the Gold Club World Championship, since it is, but it's being held in different locations, and I'm not sure they'd want to give it to China and let them move it around.
They might. I mean, their team names all had, like, for the most part, they have like the prefixes, though. You know, there were LAN accounts that have all the heroes and stuff. Could be.
Well, but they all have tournament accounts in each region. Like when Dignitas came to NA and they were playing on ladder, they were playing on their tournament accounts. All the heroes were level 20 and everything was unlocked. So just because they're playing on accounts that have their names doesn't mean they're not playing on the actual live servers.
That's fair. They can write, touch, and point with teammates. Didn't know that.
Definitely seems longer than the other pauses. So it could be a keyboard malfunction or something. Keyboard malfunctions do happen. I mean, mechanical boards are preferred by most professional gamers. They are robust. They are built to last. But we are going to get back into the game. Actually, seeing an interesting Gul'dan build. We almost always, 100% of the time we see Gul'dan in professional play, see Echoed Corruption. be the pickup. We're actually not seeing that. Really didn't take a look at his talents until just now. Gonna be honest, was 100% focused on the gameplay. But we're gonna see more of a Q focused build, almost a utility build out of the Gul'dan. With Curse of Exhaustion at 7, that does give a 50% slow after the damage from Corruption is gone. And the level 1 talent is going to be Pursuit of Flame as a quest, and it increases the radius after you've hit a certain number of heroes. I believe it's 40 enemy heroes with Q, which means that there's going to be more spread area damage to deal with the heroes. And somehow the sound just improved dramatically in volume on the clean feed. Anyone else get that?
It's definitely louder. Step in the right direction for sure.
This is laggy. For the record, I'm literally just rebroadcasting a stream, so if there's any lag, it's on the stream. Unfortunately. It is a tiny radius increase. It is 10% on the arc. Oh, that Twilight Dream did so much work, but it was not in time to save Gul'dan. The Sanctification does come down, and we're going to see the Leeming resets be a real thing. That is 3 kills to none. And SoA made that fight, like, easy.
When you can pull the trigger like that and get those cooldown resets, you're going to end up looking down in almost all situations.
Okay.
The drunken boxing style, man, I'm telling you.
Yeah. Again, I have the stream turned all the way up, guys, and I actually have my desktop audio boosted in OBS Studio, so it's going out to you at a much louder volume than I am hearing it, and if you still can't hear it, it's because the gaming sounds aren't there. The game sounds a bit inconsistent, to say the least. But unfortunately, there's nothing we can really do about it because we just have to rebroadcast what the clean feed is giving us. SoA going to make the boss call off the back of that. And HotsLady going to respond by grabbing their own boss. They don't want to let SoA get both bosses, which is inevitably what would happen if they did not immediately go for their own boss. So it's going to be a boss trade 1-for-1. They're SoA going to have to clear out top lane since the Siege are pushing in. It is curse point right now for HotsLady, but SoA now slightly ahead in experience. They're not going to be able to get 13, I don't think, before the next tribute. If they do, it's going to be very, very close. But if they do manage to get 13 first, then HotsLady might not be allowed to contest. But it looks like neither team's actually going to get 13. And Ancestral will not be available, but all the heroics for HotsLady will be available coming into this fight. You're going to see Gul'dan with the interrupt there with the corruption. And Johanna actually just moving up to mid. Looks like she's going to get tapped and come right back in. Tyrael's extremely low already. And Horrify onto Chen is the one thing they have to interrupt Drink. Sank coming down for some reason. That was a strange
Yeah.
Ancestral onto Tychus. He's going to live through that fight. Maybe. Nope. Life Drain is going to finish him off.
Not the value one would hope for at the Sanctification, for sure.
And last fight, SoA made it look easy to get 3 kills, and in this fight, HotsLady made it look real easy to get 3 kills. I don't even know what's going on with these teams.
Drunken boxing, man, I'm telling you, it's just crazy stuff.
There's going to be a lot of pressure from HotsLady. They do have a Bruiser camp pushing in mid. That is pretty much going to guarantee the mid fort. They're low on HotsLady is low on health and mana. They're going to feel forced to back up. They really wanted to get that keep on the back of this curse with those kills, but they're not going to have enough pressure, enough of an advantage to really make that happen. They are going to be able to get all the forts and get a significant experience advantage, especially because Zeratul going to rotate up to get that soak and pressure the top lane as well. And they're trying their best to get as much experience as they can out of this curse, but it's not going to be everything, but it's going to be enough to win the race to 16, and then SoA will be forced to give up at least 1 tribute for free as long as they don't make any mistakes in soaking. But I really feel like HotsLady is pretty far ahead at this point, considering the value they got out of that curse.
Yeah, the macro play is definitely making itself apparent for them. They're putting themselves in a position they can really start to snowball this. One thing that is kind of good for SoA is that both of the bosses are still waiting to come back. So they can use this opportunity to try to get some of the lanes to push back in without worrying about serious threats as far as pushing goes. And they have some time before the curse becomes a thing again.
That was almost a good sync, almost at the right time, but then Zeratul blinked into the backline and denied all the damage anyway with VP. Tyrael does end up going down, but he actually gets the counter kill on Johanna with his death throws. I'm not sure 1-for-1 is worth it when they were already winning the race to 16 and they didn't even get the camp. They burned a lot of heroics for that, that were significantly longer cooldowns than Blessed Shield.
Here you go. Here's a way back into the game, guys. You're welcome. That's pretty much what happened there.
Siege argument cleared out top by Li Ming. Rhaegar and Tychus are going to take the friendly Siege for SoA. Make sure that bottom lane has a little bit of pressure on it. Mid lane is going to have to be cleared out, but it is extremely pushed in, which is going to make it difficult for HotsLady. So we see Keg Smash at 4 is, or Keg Toss at 4 is finished for Chen. The Donkey Kong build is alive and well in this one. And 16 can be picked up basically at the same time for both these teams.
It's going to make these next team fights super important. None of it's on even talent tiers. It's pretty much going to be anybody's game. Next decisive team fight could spell the end.
It could indeed. 16-16, almost exactly the same time, actually. That was really close. We're going to see the full Q talents coming out for Tychus. We're going to see the full Donkey Kong build for Chen. Li Ming actually taking a lot of damage, but again, has Force Armor. Ends up being absolutely fine. Sentenced to Death and Seeker at 7 and 16, giving Zeratul a lot of damage and a lot of outplay potential. You can see him, he did blink back onto Li Ming and then blink out with one of those abilities. I don't know if it was the Whirlpool or the Seeker. It could have been either one. And when you give Zeratul that many displacements, he gets a lot scarier. Li Ming, however, chunking everyone. We're going to see the silence come down as the counter engage sank as well. And that is going to be a free kill basically on Tychus. They're going to put Rhaegar in a corner and show him what it's like to experience pain. Grimmett is going to go down in the back line while it's going on. But the root follow-up to VP, and that's going to be another 2 free kills for HotsLady.
It's one of those team fights that have huge implications at a time like this on Cursed Hollow. Bosses are going to be available. Rotation can definitely happen. They will need 3 tributes before they can look at another curse, but this is definitely going to put HotsLady in a very comfortable
Johanna
position.
casually solo contesting this boss is going to die to Holy Ground Roots. And then they're going to do boss anyway. Not sure that was worth it.
Yeah, I mean, Johanna pretty much had 2 options. One, watch them take the boss for free, or she can go in there, die, and then watch them take the boss for free. She opts for the latter. A bold strategy.
Yeah, and SoA showing up here. I don't think they realize Tyrael has Holy Ground. There's actually nothing they can do to get this boss. They do mount up and leave. They didn't need to be there at all, though. They could have just been elsewhere doing something that was actually going to accomplish something on the map. For instance, Tychus finally soaking mid lane. Could have just not been there and been soaking mid lane this whole time. They could have even potentially, you know, rotated to the bottom boss and started it. It probably wouldn't have happened, probably wouldn't have worked, but at least it would have been an attempt to do something that had any potential of getting some kind of good result. Boss is going to be depushed relatively quickly here. Since everyone SoA is now alive and well, you can see it's just getting absolutely melted. But in the meanwhile, HotsLady is going to secure their own boss, and they're going to, I believe they're going to push with that one, and their objective is really to secure that bottom keep if possible.
They definitely stand to put a lot of pressure on that bad boy. They have some options available to them. Again, this is one of those maps where there's always a number of correct choices.
Zeratul casually getting caught in the top lane somehow. I think he was just trying to scout the team. They don't even have any reveals, so he must have just gotten caught by a damage ability. And meanwhile, HotsLady, despite being down a hero, is just going to casually seal the siege. This is going to make their push in the bot lane even more aggressive. Siege plus boss. They're also pushing up. They also pushed up the mini wave a little bit. And it looks like they're going to sacrifice tribute, but they're not going to push. They're rotating the mid to clear out the bruisers. I think they have the confidence that boss is going to automatically get the keep. I don't know if that confidence is justified. We're going to be able to deny the hearth on Johanna here. And roots go down, but Johanna's like, oh, I'm not going to go that way. I'm going to go this way instead, guys. Johanna creating space for her team, it looks like, and not pushing with the boss. And it ends up they don't get the keep and they don't get the tribute. That's like the worst of both possible worlds for HotsLady.
You got to make a commitment when you make these calls. This is a shot caller's map. If you can play the macro, if you can queue up your teammates' commands and where they go around, you get a lot of value. Otherwise, you see some uncoordinated play like this.
That's got to be real bad. They do end up getting picked on the Johanna, but I'm not sure the pick on the Johanna was worth sacrificing getting the keep and opening up that win condition. I also would have gotten 20 off the back of that. Like, it would have been such a good, easy call. SoA really wants this tribute, but they can't contest it with Johanna dead, which means it is going to go over to HotsLady. SoA needs to soak, but the reality is they're not going to be able to get 20 before the next tribute phase, which means they're going to have to either look for a rotational pick where someone's isolated, or just accept the fact that they're going to have to eat a curse and then soak 20 and then contest the late game bosses.
They're gonna try to make something happen in the bot lane. It's a little
They're
spicy.
trying to get the bottom keep, and they're actually still aggressively pushing into this. This is the situation where SoA has to defend down in talent tier. They actually have to defend it for. VP does go down. Barrel is going to knock people around for a little bit. But we're going to see Blink Twilight Dream, and that went off on a lot of people. Sanctification is going to come down. Holy Arena was not the pick up this game, so they're not going to have the extra damage. Zeratul ends up going down, but they do trade him for the Li Ming, and Tyrael is extremely low. That's a condemn, but they're going to let them get out of the situation. And, you know, in the end, trading 1 for 1 was the best possible, in some ways the best possible scenario for SoA, because it does give them that comeback mechanic, that comeback experience. And in the meantime, they can suck lanes and get 20, and they might be able to get 20 before... Nope. It was going to be maybe close, but then nope. And the question here is, do they contest, or do they give it up and eat the curse even though they are already so far behind?
We're about to find out. That is for certain.
HotsLady not even contesting. They are down 5v4, but Johanna Li Ming just came back. And HotsLady is going to end up being the curse, and this is going to allow SoA to catch up in experience completely. If they can get all of the force out of this, it will also get them out of structures. And they're absolutely not going to be able to get a keep out of this, but they're in much better shape than they were 40 seconds ago.
Absolutely, man. This drunken boxing style is giving them a way to stay into this game. And they're definitely playing their hearts out. They want to try to steal this bad boy up from HotsLady.
I'm so surprised HotsLady. They didn't even try and delay it. Like, I would have expected at least delay it. They grab Siege, which means when they eat the curse, the Siege are going to be pushing in the top lane. And they can defend mid. Bot still has a fort in it, so it's not actually that scary. Zeratul's going to go down again. And Zeratul's been going down pretty much at the start of every single team fight. And I don't think that's how you usually want to play Zeratul.
He's the new Chin. He's the new Chin in the first game, Dragonshire. Chin was more dead than alive, it felt like half the time. Now we're starting to see Zeratul go down at the beginning of every scrap and conflict. Those are some long cooldowns, this death timers.
Yeah, it looks like the SoA is going to get middle keep off of this curse that does, in some sense, even at the lane pressure, they have now a keep down versus a keep down. And Zeratul dead, they're actually going to continue to pursue this 5v4. Nope, they're going to back off. Dark Matter was like, I don't understand anything that just happened in that team fight. And I agree with you 100%, Dark Matter. That was just a weird situation from both teams. And SoA, as long as they're still dead, they're just going to casually start their boss. It looks like HotsLady not going to contest. They're just going to start their boss. They're happy with the trade because their boss will be pushing uncontested onto an open core, whereas HotsLady's boss will be pushing into a active, alive keep, and SoA could potentially end the game with their boss, or HotsLady could potentially end the game with their boss, whereas SoA doesn't really have that potential. But the barrel is real. Unfortunately, it will not quite work out. Malfurion with the ice block does deny the knockoff, and Chen actually just ends up dying instead. That would have been an epic, epic play if not for ice block.
Dark Matter.
He concurs. Epic play if not for ice block. And SoA decides they cannot possibly win the game defending, so they're just going to go for the race. Zeratul's going to delay with VP, and that delay is going to put the nail in the coffin. There's no possibility that SoA wins the core race at this point, not even with the big red button. They cannot outrace a nuclear weapon, as it turns out. They don't even get the shield down before their core is at 0%.
I'm not sure what SoA thought was going to happen there. I mean, they were effectively caught with their pants down. It's just like, how did you feel you were going to just outrace them? That was a crazy end, man. Those two teams, they had moments where it was very crisp, coordinated play, but it just seemed more often than not, it just devolved into a flat-out quick match.
Or as we like to say, an NA pro game.
NA lol.
It's the only joke I made about NA all night. It's the only joke I'm going to make about NA all night. Just holding on to it. But we are going to see...